Yeah, we got a couple headline articles here now. This one, Mark Gilbert, Bloomberg View. And then the next one is John Schmiel for the Financial Post here in Canada. First headline would be, what if low interest rates are the problem, not the solution? Almost sounds a little bit like actual genuine economics. Genuine, prudent macroeconomics, or Austrian economics, or objective economics, doesn't it? A little bit. Next one, from the trading desk, Financial Post. It may be time to hike rates as the Fed's policy is no longer benefiting the real economy. Scotia Bank here in Canada. I mean, these idiots are starting to realize that. Think about it. They've had 8 fucking years since the recession, right? The Great Recession, which really should have been the Great Depression, but central planners intervened and just made it a slight recession, even though they propped the shit up right quickly. Quickly, let's print money, print. So it wasn't really even any Great Recession. Because the bigwigs, the cronies, the corporatists, the government fucking central planners, they all made out like bandits, right? So, whatever. But anyways, I think they're all starting to recognize now that, yeah, if you look at all the articles cumulatively that you read, I mean, if you don't, I do. So let me just tell you. I wish I could show you the amount of information that I put up here in an average day so you can understand why I know things that a lot of you don't. It takes a whole lot of research and a big memory bank and being able to be a problem solver and putting all the pieces of the puzzle together to be able to paint a picture and understand things objectively. Fortunately for a lot of people, I have that capacity. It's something that I've benefited from all my life. So whether it was in my jobs, my occupations, racing people, or being competitive in any way, shape, or form, I've always had the ability to exceed expectations and beat up people that you would normally think that, well, how the hell could you do that? Well, because I possess those qualities. Not everyone possesses them. Not all humans, not all men are created equal. As much as some people like try to promote that bullshit, the only kind of equality that I have ever been concerned about is if there's going to be any kind of laws, everybody has to follow them universally. But there's no such thing as equality in nature or in human beings. We are all different human beings, individuals with various levels of competency, whether it's economics, social abilities, physical prowess, mental capacities, intellectual learnings. There's no such thing as we're all created equal. That's just a bullshit race to the bottom. Forced collectivism is all about we're created equal, right? It's trying to bring everyone down to the lowest common denominator. Because once you try to get to the point of raising and elevate people, well, it becomes like, yeah, you'll see that, no, there's only a small percentage of people that would actually be at the top. At the bottom, there's always large masses. But that's just the reality of the world, folks. Deny it as much as you want. That is reality. We are not all created equal. And you don't have to listen to what I got to say. I'm just one person with one voice. And a lot of people, most people don't listen to what I got to say. Those who do, though, probably do recognize that I'm smarter than the average bear. And I'm definitely smarter than the average political propagandist or pundit that you'll ever see or hear from on the main stage in the mainstream media, or politicians, or those from academia. All those people really are well-regulated, well-rehearsed apes. Just like if you went to the circus, or hey, go to Marineland and you see all those dolphins or killer whales or sea lions that perform all these amazing tricks, but really it's not that these animals have any amazing capacities outside of their ability to learn, repeat, and regurgitate what they've been taught. But when we're talking about economics, which in human terms, it goes right down to everything we do. Economics value, right, is something that humans hold dear in every aspect of everything that we do. But yeah, you can't set your plan that bullshit without destroying natural incentives and fucking completely. What you're doing in that situation is completely fucking negating nature, reality, and trying to create a delusional bubble. And like I say, those delusional bubbles get popped periodically, which is why you see the business cycles and all this bullshit, right? Because central planning it will never work consistently or seamlessly. It's not like mathematics where 2 + 2 is 4 and you come back 1,000 years later and it's still 2 + 2 is 4. In politics, someone might say 2 + 2 is 3.5. Someone might say it's 3 1/4, 3 3/3, 4.10. You know, they'll come up with 4.5. I mean, it's just all over the place. It's just like, how can anyone have any semblance of reason or understanding logically what it all means when it's always when the ball's moved all around the court? It's never consistent and never stays in the same place. Objective truth and reasons is always going to be there. They will always maintain that same position. We can expand our knowledge in many different ways, but objective truths and reasons are always entrenched in reality, right? Those things, those fundamentals never change. Gravity, or the speed of light, or the speed of sound, those things never, ever, 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 ever change. That's what allows humans to have any kind of universal consistency, are things that don't change, fundamentals that cannot change. It may be time to hike rates as the Fed's policy is no longer benefiting the real economy, Scotia. John Schmuel or whatever, June 22nd, 2016. It's become a frustrating common refrain. The U.S. Federal Reserve appears set to raise interest rates only to backtrack when some new geopolitical development gives an excuse not to. Look to people like Peter Schiff. He's been talking about this stuff for a long time, man. And even during the crash in the U.S., he was one of the very few that were telling people, hey, be careful out there. This is going to happen. And everyone else was saying, no, it's not, no, it's not, no, it's not. Well, he was proved right. And that's why, yeah, reality or rhetoric, that's why I am who I am today. That's why I don't follow populist narratives, bullshit propaganda. I don't care how popular truth is. Truth is what I look for. That's what I follow. But that could change once the dust settles on the Brexit referendum this week, says Scotiabank's Vice President of Economics. Derek Holt expects that once a decision is reached on whether the United Kingdom stays in the European Union or not, the Fed will begin paying attention to the serious froth that has built up in the bond and stock markets as a result of loose monetary policy. I mean, yeah, so if you're buying... I mean, the stock market, you already know, is a big, giant Ponzi scheme. And the bond markets, you're seeing now where everyone's thinking they're safe havens. Like, hey, let's buy the slaves because we know slaves will always have to be slaves because they got to put food in their belly and the roof over their head, right? But even then, they're seeing that there's so many people who are jumping on that those yields are, for the most part, are not even keeping up with inflation, and most aspects are now negative. So you're investing in shit that you lose out on. But people are like, well, it's a lesser amount of loss compared to everywhere else, right? So once again, what a fucking race to the bottom we live in. Federal Reserve policy may well turn to focus more strongly upon evidence of financial market imbalances, he said in a note to clients. Holt says that sovereign bonds are currently in a policy Fed bubble. Oh, you best believe they're in a policy Fed bubble. I mean, look at how much money, whether it's ECB, you know, like the central banks of Europe, or all the central banks around the world, the Fed, or the Canadian Central Bank, they're they're just printing money like it's going out of style. They're pretending like they got a monopoly board and a printing press where it's just, let's keep this shit going. We'll hand out money to all these fucking people. But yeah, of course it's going to fail. What the fuck, man? It's a big giant bubble when you think you can just print money, give it out freely to anyone, and that's going to be the best way to prop up an economy. No, because when you print money, here's a news alert, when you print money without an actual real demand for that currency, when you just arbitrarily print it to create some kind of demand, all you're doing is reducing the valuation of that currency. That's what fiat money is all about. So now you're seeing that the purchasing power of your dollar is less now. So it's always a lose-lose. There's never a lose or never a win-win. At best, there might be a win-lose, but you're never on that win side. It's always central planners, governments, the people that issue the bonds, governments or corporations, right? You're always going to be on the lose end of that spectrum, the lowly sheep or the lowly masses. But you don't realize that. I'm here to try to help you. That's what I do on a regular basis. You need to learn and listen. Holt goes on to suggest that the actions of central banks creating low yields and flat curves are now soundly to blame for the weak fundamentals of the economy. Duh. That central banks are benefiting the risk trade but not the real economy, he said. This means low yields for long amidst largely trivial debates over precisely how low and for precisely how long. Holt's view is the latest salvo in what is becoming a growing chorus questioning why we're still in an era of rock bottom interest rates. So yeah, I mean, of course, all these, and this is coming out as just like the video I just did prior about the fucking pension schemes. When there's no yields on these schemes, they got to look to many different, I mean, they got to invest in the stocks or corporations or stuff. If there was actual real yield and savings entrenched, I mean, the moral hazards are proper under those circumstances. But yeah, we live in a world where it's like, let's just prop up this failing or this unicorn or zombie economy, right? I mean, in the end, it'll all be proven to be failure. Future historians will talk about how fucking ridiculous these idiots were. But because people live in the here and now and are unwilling to recognize that reality because they don't know how to think outside the box, they don't realize it. And they won't realize it until it's too late. It's always the way it is. Another one, this one here, the Bloomberg view. What if low interest rates are the problem and not the solution? And once again, it's basically going along talking about the same things. In most walks of life, it's pretty obvious that if what you're doing isn't working, you should try something else. In the world of central banking, however, that strategy has been to do more of what isn't working, providing trillions of dollars and euros of liquidity via quantitative easing and even sending official interest rates in some countries into negative territory. But what if low interest rates are the problem, not the solution? What if the continuous central bank's efforts to add more stimulus end up suggesting that the economic outlook is so bleak that nobody in their right mind would take advantage of this, of the largesse? Like myself, let me just use my own personal subjective experience to tell you. I personally would love, because I have that entrepreneurial zeal, that mind, right? I would love to start a business in Canada today. And I have tons of ideas for not just one business, but multiple businesses that I might try that I think would succeed and be very successful absent central planning and price fixing and manipulation and fiat currencies. But yeah, of course, I wouldn't even try it today. Wouldn't even attempt it in this fucking world, because the minute I start, it might be, what, 3, 6, 9 months, 12 months, a year, 2 years, whatever down the road. All that might be wiped out and washed away by some central planning initiative or price fiction or manipulation, or because that's the thing, when you function in an environment where everything can be dictated and manipulated constantly, there's no semblance of understanding true fundamentals. It's all just a big dog and pony show. It's all speculative bullshit where there's no logical consistency no more. There's no 2 + 2 is 4. There's no +2 is 4 +2 is 6 +2 is 8. Nobody can follow a proper path or trajectory to know where the end result might be. That's what central planning is doing. Is it completely has removed anyone's ability to use objective reasoning and logic economically, say, if I do this, this should be a direct result. It's absent in the modern world we live in. Now, there are some people that are taking advantage of that and rolling the dice, right? Or closing their eyes and flipping the coin and hoping it lands on the one that they chose. But that's not a proper way to do investments or to grow economies. Flipping a coin hoping that you say heads and it lands on heads, that's a terrible way to be prosperous economically. In December, the Federal Reserve raised its benchmark interest rate for the first time since 2006 and suggested, so that's 10 years ago, 2006, and suggested that the move would be followed by 4 more increases this year. Instead, it's almost the middle of the year, and the futures market is betting the Fed is more likely to remain inactive for the next 6 months than raise again. This mismatch between what we're saying and what we're doing is arguably causing distortion in global financial market pricing, causing unnecessary confusion for future Fed policy and eroding credibility, St. Louis Fed President James Bullard said last week. One big problem with artificial engineering low borrowing costs is that capital can end up trapped in so-called zombie companies, what the economist Joseph Schumpeter called creative destruction is less likely when money is free. That prevents economic Darwinism from weeding out the weak. Citigroup's Gregory Marx published a research note last week slamming central bankers for acting like doctors allowed to perform experimental procedures on everyone who walks through the hospital doors. He cited Rudolf von Havenstein, who was president of the German Central Bank when the country was gripped by hyperinflation between 1921 and 1923, in large part because he printed money with no regard for the inflationary consequences. His name has become synonymous with muddled monetary thinking, in brackets, one of the funniest market Twitter feeds around bears his name. We should be invoking Havenstein to identify the present flaw in institutional thinking around current monetary policy, specifically negative rates, Marx wrote. In other words, the lesson here is that, unfortunately, people believe in the efficacy of a completely irrational policy because it was put in place by a qualified and experienced policymaker. This instead of questioning the common sense merit of its possible outcome. So, I don't really need to read into this whole, the rest of this article. Although I may very well do so. We're at 17 minutes and 50 seconds. So yeah, I might very well finish this off. But what they're saying is, yes, if those that people have come to trust, central planners or those of academia, if they tell you bullshit narratives, people will still believe them because they believe that they're in positions of authority and that they should know better. But what this person is even saying is, not in this modern world. Don't trust these fucks. They're just status ideologues that are propagating a message of central planning, force, and coercion as a means to an end. And hoping and praying that it will last long enough that they can benefit from it while they're alive. And once they're dead, who gives a fuck? They won't. They won't, because they won't have to worry about the future, right? The central bank message is that money will continue to be free. And in a research report published earlier this month with the title "The ECB Must Change Course," Deutsche Bank's chief international economist Torsten Schlock argued that the Eurozone central bank should prepare to reverse its policy stance. The longer policy prevents the necessary catharsis, the more it contributes to the growth of populist or extremist policies, Schlock argues. Normalizing rates would be seen as a positive signal by consumers and corporate investors. The longer the ECB persists with unconventional monetary policy, the greater the damage to the European project will be. Of course. If central banks, and indeed financial markets, are telling the world that money will be free for the foreseeable future, what incentives do consumers or companies have to borrow today and consume or invest rather than waiting a while to see if demand picks up? Suppose instead there was a coordinated announcement that interest rates in the world's major economies would rise to, say, 2% in 3 months' time. Might that not grease the wheels of industry or industry, prompting companies to borrow or invest. In December, when the Fed raises rates, I argued that it shouldn't have. Based on economic orthodoxy, I stand by that call, but I'm willing to entertain the possibility that it's time to rip up the textbooks and try some financial heterodoxy. If lower borrowing costs haven't revived growth or extinguished the threat of deflation, maybe it's time to give higher interest rates a chance. It's not a matter of, this is the fuck with these idiots. They think it's got to be centrally planned interest rates. So whether it's high or low or anywhere in between. But in reality, supply and demand, natural forces, the invisible hand, right? Just plain market forces, the cumulative effect of everybody doing what they do. Interest rates should be reflected naturally in those environments. It should never be centrally planned. It should always be reflective of the fundamentals of the economics, of the macroeconomics of the day. But yes, central planners dictate, centrally plan, and narrate those things to the point where they're completely removed from reality, from economic reality. What this article is really all about, to put into a short sentence, is central planning has never worked in human history to create true prosperity and true economic fundamentals and equality, true economic quality for those who play into the system, who participate in the game, right? Winners should win as a result of being better. Losers should lose as a result of being inferior. In the central planning narrative, in central planning economies, that is completely flipped upside down and turned on its head. Which is why it has always proven to be a complete and abstract failure in the long run. This is the Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.